This should go without saying if you're watching this, but major Arcane spoilers. Like, all the spoilers. I doubt anyone but my friends who refuse to read this huge-ass essay I wrote on a cartoon character are watching this, but if you aren't my friend, 1, how did you get here? 2, if you haven't watched Arcane, go and do that before watching this. What are you doing? And 3, if you have watched Arcane and are here, how the fuck did you get here? Now, with that out of the way, when it comes to the deep recesses of my mind, I have to say I am unsure of how I have been able to collect so much knowledge of fandoms and shows, and yet retain so little of the information I learned throughout college. Alas, that is where we are, and here is me trying to explain why Vi, older sister of the severely traumatized Jinx, girlfriend to Caitlin Kierman, adopted daughter of Vander, and number 516 in Stillwater Prison, has occupied my thoughts since watching Arcane, and then watching Arcane again, and again, and well, you get the idea. There has been plenty that have deep dived and defended her character well enough without the need of me barging in like Mama Kierman in episode 8, but I'm still going to do it, because the dude has yet to assign me my student teaching, and the anxiety of doing nothing but sitting and waiting for the dude's email is enough to make my skin itch. And for fuck's sake, dude. Before we start, I am not going into legal lore on Vi. Not because I can't, it's that I don't want to, and it's also not the point of this essay. This is all about how Vi is in Arcane, and what kind of character we can see she is through her actions. I can't see where Vi being an enforcer, warden, whatever, a cop in League needs to be brought up, especially since Arcane Vi probably won't be going into Zaun hoping for a chance to commit some police brutality.
Stay out of Vi's way! He can beg for mercy, won't be able to hear you. Resist arrest, wants your rights, stay in my rear view.
I mean, I know this is a fan-made thing, but they wrote these lyrics for a reason.
Game looks when I'm dominating. Run all you want, but you're not gonna get far. My punches make explosions like a fist of the North Star.
And it's not like her official song is too much better either.
She's such a misfit, always ready to brawl. It's like her business, roughing up your friends.
Yeesh. Yeah, if they go this route in Arcane, they will have a lot of explaining to do. I'm going to break this down into 5 parts. They are aptly named Big Sis Vi, Big Softie Vi, Vi Oh Vi, Wise Vi, and Super Salad Vi. 3 parts are about 3 very important people in Vi's life that show who she is as a person, aka the Protector. And it also explains how she came to be this person. There's a part in the middle that's the in-between moments. It's almost like an interlude, but it needs to be talked about. And the last part is going to be explaining how the person she is ultimately affects the dinner party scene. It will be bringing all the parts together just like Jinx does, and probably just as painful. Big Sis Vi. So we begin with Powder, because Vi being the Protector stems from being the big sis of Milo and Clagger and her little powder keg sister. Plus, that's where my perspective on Vi starts. It starts with where the show starts, which you might say duh, but when I start seeing posts of this show, that is not where people pointed to. They gave me pieces of the middle. With Vi. And Caitlin. So imagine my surprise when Vi was suddenly a teen and she had an even smaller sister Powder that she immediately has to take care of at the start of the show because, oh wow, that is their parents dead on the bridge. Beautiful. Wonderful. Thank you for this recommendation. Also, I am an older sibling myself, so of course I am going to latch on and take notice of something familiar first. Now, sibling relationships are not the same for everyone. Just because you are the older sibling doesn't mean that you are given the duty of keeping your younger sibling safe, secure, and loved. There are plenty of sibling relationships that show how toxic they can be throughout different forms of media. How an older sibling can view their younger sibling as a nuisance or a heavy burden that they are forced to carry until they can find a space to let them go. Then there are the shows and movies that feature the opposite. The older sibling characters that will do everything and anything they can to make sure that no matter what, their younger sibling knows they are loved and understood. Nani from Lilo Stitch has always been one of my favorite examples of this, and now so is Vi. In fact, Vi is probably my favorite character like this at the moment due to how much she royally screws up, but I'll get to that in a moment. Vi is that older sibling. She's the one who tries her damnedest to protect her younger sibling from anything and everything. No one is allowed to make her sister feel less than, to make her feel like a hindrance. She might rib Powder a little, as that is the nature of siblings. Ultimately though, when it comes down to it, Vi refuses to let Powder believe she is anything but capable and smart. We see this especially through Milo. Milo, who calls Powder a jinx and forgets that small kids shouldn't take on a person a whole head taller than themselves, not to mention older. Vi is the protective sibling. Milo is the sibling that views his younger sister as a burden. That's not necessarily his fault, but going into that would distract from the larger picture at the moment. I will say, however, that it is important to note how scared all of these kids are at the beginning of Arcane. We don't truly see it until Vander is captured, but it's there, and I think it explains a lot. Vi does not let Milo bully Powder. As soon as he says something, she's either reassuring her sister of her value or threatening to knock Milo out if he continues to speak. There's a moment where Powder overhears Vi agreeing with Milo, and the word said to Milo that Powder misses shows that Vi is not a face value protector. She's not doing this just to make Powder feel better. She's doing this because she truly loves and believes in her sister. Yes, there are things that Powder can't do, but she's a child and different from Vi, so if you want to compare the two, it wouldn't be fair. It's not like there's things that you can't do, Milo, so shut the fuck up. But even if this scene wasn't there, the audience would still believe that Vi isn't the big sister that only says things to make her little sister feel better about herself. For one, she's honest about when she feels Powder is ready for something and when she isn't. She's gentle with her sister, yes, and careful, and sometimes that gets in the way of making good decisions when it comes to Powder. But she's more afraid of losing her sister than anything. Thus her ability to say no to Powder might be hindered, but she can and will say it when it is necessary. More so, though, we see it in the interactions between the two. Everything about Vi's interactions with Powder absolutely screams care. Again, the constant vocal reassurance is huge. I'm saying that as a person who has struggled with portraying those kind of feelings without the trauma Vi went through of losing people. What is bigger, however, is the small physical reassurances we see throughout the first act. This is shown to the audience from the very beginning, and I do mean the very beginning. The first image we see in Arcane of Vi isn't of her mad or punching her way through the smoke. It is of her holding her little sister's hand and squeezing it as she takes in the horror on the bridge. This kind of contact is constant throughout Act 1. And that is because Vi is a big sis Softie, because she's not just this way with her little sister. She has a similar relationship with Little Man too, giving him advice on how to punch people and listening to his tips, and she's seen giving hugs to all her found family at one point within Act 1. She punches hard and fast, but she cares about the people in her life in a big way. The fact that she is fairly open about it is amazing, because so many characters with this kind of trauma have been written closed off with stone barriers and barbed fences. It's refreshing, but it all comes at a price. The screw up. So the show establishes how essential Vi shows her way of protecting the people she loves, through kind words and gentle physical reassurances. It also establishes just how important and vital these things are to Powder. She's not a jinx, she's not a burden, she's trying her best and doing great with what she has. Which is why when Vi finally is at the end of her rope and lashes out, it is the absolute worst possible thing that could happen to Powder. It doesn't help that, for once, Powder doesn't feel useless. She finally got her invention to work. She helped. And instead of her sister showing her the pride she is used to, the reassurance, she gets the admittance that she was always waiting for, that she's a jinx, that she messed everything up, and it's a verbal slap in the face along with the real one that is so different than the soft, caring touch she's grown used to. Vi who was always so gentle, Vi who was always so careful in making sure her sister knew her value, and that
what makes you different makes you strong.
Vi who was honest with her abilities, Vi who said,
I can't lose you.
Vi who was her protector. It's so out of character. Vi practically vanishes in that moment. Overtaken with grief and anger and frustration, she just watched some of the most important people in her life die, and her sister, who she did her best to protect and care for, who she tried to teach the skills she felt were necessary to survive, just admitted that it's her fault. It's in that brief moment, Vi the Protector is gone. That small moment we see the scared kid that Vi really is. It has been this whole time. A kid with too much responsibility and too much weight to carry. She fails to be the older sibling here, if only for mere seconds. It's a reminder that she is still a kid, and she has grown up much too fast. She's been given the responsibilities of an adult, and she is still very much a child. A teen who, in any other world, would be allowed to make mistakes. No, she should not have hit her sister. Yes, she messed up, but she also just lost almost every single person she loved in front of her eyes in a matter of minutes. That's a lot of trauma to put a kid through and expect them to be calm when their little sister admits that she caused all that damage just trying to help. Side note before Jinx fans come after me, I am not blaming Powder. It's not like the kid had a personal vendetta against her family. She was just trying to help, and it backfired in the most terrible way. I remember being a kid wanting to help my parents with something and doing it anyway when they told me no, and getting hurt because, oh, knife is pointy and sharp. Shit. It's an understandable feeling in action. This is a deep dive on Vi, and Vi knows immediately that she has made a mistake after hitting her little sister. So, there's a thread on Twitter somewhere about how Vi looks at her hands after looking at Powder and sees the blood she obtained from Silco's goons mixed along with the blood of her little sister. And you know, that put me in a spiral, but after yet another rewatch I see that that's not true, because Vi was wearing Vander's gauntlets. So fuck you, whoever said that. I am suing for emotional distress. That said, Vi does look down to her hands and is completely horrified with what she's done. She's meant to protect. She's meant to understand her sister when no one else will. And yet she completely lost it and became someone that just confirmed Powder's worst fears. So Vi gives herself space to cool down, to return to being Vi the older sister, the protector, the Vi we know she is. Which is really a pretty mature action for a teen. She knows she needs space and takes it. And yes, I am absolutely putting it this way because Vi would never abandon her sister. Not willingly. We have already seen that. We've already seen what she would do for her sister. And if you want to bring up how she was going to leave Powder earlier, when she wants to give herself up to the enforcers, she's not doing so because she wants to leave Powder alone. She knows Powder will have Vander, Milo, and Clagger. She's doing it because
This is the only way to protect the others.
And if all of that is not enough to convince you that Vi didn't intentionally abandon her sister when she was walking away, it's in the script. This is from the official Arcane Twitter. So no, Vi does not abandon Powder at this moment because she would never do that. But she is giving herself space to become herself again. She doesn't want to be the person who lashes out at her sister. She doesn't want Powder to be in pain for something she said or did. In order to be the person she wants to be the big sister and protector she is, she needs to settle down. In addition to this, it's not as though Vi goes very far. She walks to a space where she can get some privacy, but Powder is still within seeing distance. She just needs to breathe and calm down. It's just unfortunate timing. Because the one time we see Vi break publicly after the bridge scene, because she breaks after Vander's capture too, but it's privately, is the one time she desperately needed to stay together. Or at least that's where the scene leads Vi to think that. Because if Vi hadn't lashed out, if Vi had stayed, if Vi had taken back what she said immediately, if Vi had stayed the protector, Powder wouldn't have fell down a well. At least not in the same way. But again, I'm getting ahead of myself with talking about Jinx. We're talking about Vi in this moment. And there's still so much to consider in terms of what Vi could have done here. So, say she did stay with Powder. The problem becomes there is a good chance both of them would have been killed instead. Silco stuck all his goonies on Vi while the crew was trying to free Vander. Who is to say he wouldn't do that again? I can see Vi telling Powder to make a run for it while she holds him off. How far Powder would get when they are in an alleyway that's on fire, I couldn't tell you. And if they both managed to run away, where would they go? Silco would still be in charge and searching. We see how powerful he is and how powerful he becomes. Hiding in the Undercity would be difficult. Everyone knows who they are because Vander, maybe the Undercity protects them. We see how much they still care about Vi after Stillwater. But no one has the power Vander had, and no one has the power Silco has and gains. Babette says people tried after Vander, but no one was successful. Silco was too in control. Even not considering what we learn later of the power dynamics in the Undercity, he still has Shimmer. He still has his goons using Shimmer, and still has the power to get people addicted to using Shimmer. So where are Vi and Power meant to go when everything goes to shit? How are they meant to live? There isn't a good solution here. And this isn't even mentioning Marcus and his chloroform using ass. But that's the thing that happens in Arcane. So much of what happens feels out of character's control. There really is nothing Vi could have done once Silco and Marcus arrive on scene. And even if there was a fix for this, it is unlikely the siblings would get happy futures. Powder gets taken by Silco, and Vi gets taken by Marcus. And the only universe where this isn't the happier choice is if Vi didn't follow Little Man's tip at all. Which isn't a choice, because Vi wants better for her sister. Knowing Vi, though, she thought about this a lot while she was in Stillwater, because it has been ingrained in her to take the blame for every action of the people who look up to her. That whatever happens, good or bad, that's on her. But that is about Vander, and I have a special section dedicated to him, so we'll table that for now. There is a lot to unpack there. By the end of Act 1, in the space between Act 2, we can see that Vi is one character full of guilt and rage in a prison cell that she doesn't deserve to be in on Stillwater. And that brings us to Act 2. Enter Caitlin Kierman at Stillwater Prison. Physically, in the scene, not in the essay. We're still on siblings, on Powder. Vi is different when we first meet her in Act 2. You be stuck in solitary confinement and stay the same. But, actually, she might be a little the same, because the thing that brings her guard down is that damn monkey.
Where did you get this?
The recognition that her sister drew it, and that means that she's still alive and working for Silco? Right, big sister Vi. She gets Caitlin to break her out of Stillwater by telling her
Undercity's gonna eat you alive.
Or at least that's what we're led to believe, but I doubt it because Kate is not the one who nearly dies down there. Now is she, Vi? Getting fucking stabbed and moving too fast. Vi gets out of prison with a lead on where her sister might be, or specifically who she might be with. That is her mission. It's not to help Kate, it's not to find Silco, it's to find her sister. So yeah, maybe Vi looks tougher and can punch harder, but her goal remains the same. And I think this is where people end up finding Vi's character boring, because she doesn't change. Her sister is always the priority. Vi has a role. She's messed up that role before and she won't make that same mistake again. Then she finds out Powder is Jinx, and Silco treats her like his daughter. Silco, the same man that killed her father figure. That Silco. Her sister is working with that Silco. The shock is apparent, and that means that even with all the thinking she got to do in prison, this result was probably tucked away in the far corners of her mind. And then she gets fucking stabbed. Now we're at the point where I actually could include Kate in the conversation of Big Softie Vi, but I'm still talking about Big Sis Vi, so Kate is going to have to wait. Don't worry, your time will come soon enough, Kate. You are very important in showing how much Vi has changed. So, where does Vi go as she's bleeding out? I'm sure there's places she could have considered, except not really, because Silco is out to find her now, and if she goes anywhere, the people who might help her are in danger, and she can't have that. Vander worked too hard to help the people of the lanes, and it doesn't matter if the power has changed and the balance has been turned over. She was taught to do the same. So instead she goes to a place with very familiar drawings on its walls and is just shy of completely collapsing on top of them. Home sweet home. The evidence of Powder is everywhere, which is important to note because Vi is dying. She's got a hole in her gut and she's dying, and she went home where Powder is everywhere. Now, I can't confirm the idea that Vi also went down there thinking of the possibility of dying and wanted to be close to her sister one last time. I can't give significant evidence for that either. I just find it so odd that there was no guarantee that Kate would be able to find help for Vi and save her life down in the abyss, and Vi still chose to go there. Maybe she's okay with dying in order to protect the people of the Undercity. That would make sense. She is the protector of her people and Vander's. But what about Powder then? Who was and at this point always will be a priority. And now that I've mentioned it, you're thinking about it too. And now someone else has to suffer with me. Welcome. Big Sis Vi, yay! There does come the moment that confirms that Vi is at least thinking of her sister throughout this all, as well as that she sat in her cell thinking about her sister and everything she could have done differently, and came to a conclusion.
I shouldn't have left you.
In the haze of blood loss, Vi sees her sister drawing on the walls. Her childhood home is being stained with her blood. Kate is thinking of what could possibly help her, and she's confessing her failures. An apology that's right there. To someone who isn't there to hear it. Except Powder is everywhere, and Powder is there, where there might have been the bed they sat together on and played a game of who can make up the scariest monster. The game Vi took too far sometimes, and ended up having to play protector to make her sister feel safe. Even if Vi didn't come down here with the thoughts of potentially dying in her childhood home, where she can see Powder one last time, she's thinking of how she took it too far, said things she didn't mean, and she failed to chase the monsters away, just like she tells Kate later on, because she left. She had no choice, but she did. She walked away and was stolen herself, and that left Powder alone and vulnerable to the real monsters of the world. And she can't apologize for it all this time. She can't take responsibility, can't claim it to the person it matters to, and she might not get the chance to because she's bleeding out. And Kate is starting to panic just a little as her eyes seem to get heavier. So she admits her faults to what she can. And that's the memory of Powder and this decrepit home with her sister's art plastered on the walls and their heights that have been recorded for no one but the rats that live there now to see. And then she doesn't die. Thank you, Caitlin Kierman. And now I'm going to take a second to point out how beautifully crafted the Guns for Hire sequence is, because I might not get the chance to again. It's so haunting and encapsulates so much emotions for something that is simply trying to take us from one point to the next. It's one of my absolute favorite sequences in the show. All the praise to the animators. Of course Vi remembers what the blue flare means, which takes us to Jinx. Maybe the last time Vi does see Powder in that memory in their childhood home really is the last time, because Powder is, Vi just goes straight for the hug after making sure the person who signaled the distress flare is who she thinks she is. Apologies are immediate, as are reassurances. Vi apologizes for abandoning Powder, explains how she tried to come back, all the while she's hugging her sister and holding her face again. And then Kate arrives on scene and everything goes to shit. Vi doesn't change though. She's still protecting, trying to help her sister, trying to reassure her she's there for her and only her, with a gentle and hesitant touch on the arm. The actions that used to work, that used to show Powder that her big sister was there and she would keep her safe. Except Powder is Jinx now. Except Vi is also trying to protect someone else, someone they have considered an enemy since they were kids. Except everything is different. Now we can talk about Caitlin Kierman. Big Softie Vi. See this character? She's got a good heart. She can carry so much trauma. How can you carry so much trauma in one character? Also, she's a huge softie because she has a good heart. Vi. Future Sheriff Cupcake. Yeah, I said no legal lore, but Kate becoming sheriff actually isn't too hard to imagine. She's sweet. You're right, Vi. And she's gonna help us see how you're the same but different. So with Jinx, this is one of the first instances where Vi is actively trying to protect Kate. When did their relationship change? Well, when Vi was kinda down on the floor, she wouldn't let Kate touch her. Which is different for Vi, considering how touchy she is. She hasn't flinched away from anyone but Vander, and that was only due to her own shame in the situation. And, the guards from Stillwater, because they're garbage people. Granted, she did let Kate hold her up to the point where she flung herself down the canyon. As soon as she was sitting on the floor, though, no touchy Kate. Enforcers are the worst. So the contact she makes with Kate can be seen as more for necessity or intimidation's sake, leading up to the end of episode 7. Bringing this up because it is important and different. Not because I don't ship Violet, aka the ship with the best ship name ever. Except everyone calls them Kate Vi or Piltover's finest. Violin was right there. It was right there. I ship it a lot. It is beautiful. So their relationship had to have changed because Kate saved Vi's life, leading Vi to trust her because, who wouldn't after all of that shit? Plus, Kate repeats the words Vander used to say about Vi having a good heart, and that likely has its part too. Or at least reminds Vi that Vander would have wanted her to try and use that big heart of hers even if she doesn't want to listen to it. Even if it's screaming about worrying about someone else. More on that in Vander's section, though. Kate also holds Vi's face in her hands in order to comfort her through the painful experience of Shimmer, which might not have anything to do with Vi letting her touch her, because pain, I'm in pain and dying in pain and what is happening. But seeing how Vi is a touchy person and likely isn't used to being comforted in any capacity since, jail. Insert Vi will remember that meme here. Right before Vi goes to confront Silco, she holds her hand out to stop Kate from moving forward, and then she's grabbing Kate as they run from the scene. Yeah, that's different, huh? And it seems fast because it basically happens all in one episode, but I don't think it's an unnatural pace, especially considering Vi is a fucking softie. It's in this confrontation with Jinx, where nothing Vi used to do is getting through or helping, that we see Vi literally stand in front of a giant automatic machine gun so that Jinx is pointing it at Vi instead of Kate. And that's pretty significant because until this point, we haven't really seen Vi doing these physical protector things with anyone but her people. Her people had always included the people of the Undercity, the Lanes, the people she grew up around and lived with, her family. Topsiders? Not allowed. Pilties? Banned. Enforcers? Better have a good doctor. Safe to say that's changed a bit within the last few hours. Vi is finally sharing that connection, that need to protect, with someone other than Powder and their found family. And it's one of the reasons why Jinx reacts in the way she does. Because it's not just the fact that Kate is an enforcer that causes Jinx to go off. It's that Vi calls her friend and holds out her arms like a shield to protect Kate. And then Vi is forced to push the gun away from her and from Kate and try to get Jinx to listen. With all of this, Vi is saying and showing that Kate, The enforcer, the new girl, she has become one of Vi's people, or has started to become one of them, in the very least. And maybe Jinx could have calmed down enough to listen as to why that may be, but then the firelights come crashing in. And then we see this. Vi is terrified of the person she sees Powder has become. To see her sweet sister that just wanted to help become a person that wildly shoots a machine gun with no worry of who it might hit, and violently smacks a person's skull with the same heavy machinery, she could have prevented that if she had just done something differently. But again, that's for Vander's section. You have a lot of guilt, Vi, but we're going to further establish how you care about your people before we go into why that is. Can't decide who would give better hugs, Vi or Kate. All I know is that I wouldn't mind getting one. We have a great conversation on why Vi shouldn't worry about the actions of the past as they can't be changed, that will be talked about in Vander's section. And then we have Vi defending Kate to Echo, a person she took care of while growing up, a person that looked up to her and wanted her to teach him things like how to punch people and give her tips on people. Words. If it wasn't clear to the audience that Kate has become one of Vi's people, or at least is quickly becoming one of Vi's people, this moment should show it fairly well, because if she was only protecting Kate against Jinx in order for her sister not to murder them, she doesn't have that excuse here. And defending people with her words has always been one of her things. Right, Milo? Sorry. Which leads Echo to help them, because Vi only does this for certain people, with one of them being him at one point in their lives. But if the show hadn't already established that, this interaction would not work. Echo helping Kate would not work. She's an enforcer with too many dreams and too much positivity. You want to help, Belty? That's rich. They need Vi. They need Vi and who she is, how she shows herself, and her role. They need her words and physical reassurances. The things that she has always been willing to give to those she cares about. She hasn't changed, but she has. Because
people change.
But Echo still listens to the cues Vi has always given since they were kids, because that part of her remains. Her actions of care and protectiveness are still front and center. It's just who she chooses to showcase it for has changed. Her trust. Ugh. We're always being brought back to this damn bridge. There's so much symbolism to it, especially connected with Vi. I know her tattoos are just gears and smoke because it looks cool, and also because it's a direct reference to how her gauntlets are powered in League, probably. But this bridge also has fucking gears, so that they can separate Piltover from the Undercity, and also let their fancy huge-ass boats through, but whatever. And she had to step through the smoke on the bridge to find her dead parents, and yeah, that's definitely just me reading too closely. But my brain likes to make pain out of nothing. Just like with me and why the fuck Vi yeeted herself off of a cliff with a hole in her gut and no real game plan. Anyways, we're on the goddamn bridge again, and Vi...
I can't leave her again.
She has to try to get through to Powder. She has to, or she's abandoning her again, and that's not her role. That's not who she is. So on the bridge, Echo gets another hug, and then not promise of not dying because no one is sane here, and then Miss Enforcer Girl swoops in for one as well. And again, I wonder who gives the better hugs, because this one looks very nice. We got Kate going all in, and Vi like doing this gentle brush of her fingers thing, and it just seems warm and soft, you know? Fuck, am I a touch star? The fuck is this pandemic doing to me? Point is, it might not have been a mutual action, and Vi might not have been the one to initiate it, but she isn't complaining. In fact, she's thanking Kate during this moment, and tearing up a bit too. Touchy Softie Vi. It is also very telling that Jinx has nothing to say about the hug with Echo, who has also been fighting against her, who is also on an opposing side, but immediately starts hearing Milo and his taunts in her ear when Vi is hugging Caitlyn. Because what the fuck? The people who get Vi hugs are people a part of the family. Before she walks away, maybe for good, maybe never seeing Kate again, Vi has to dramatically drop her hand from Kate's face as she turns to find her sister, who is already on the bridge.
For God's sakes, look up!
So Marcus is an ass and shoots Echo, and Vi immediately is running back, yelling,
Caitlyn!
I mean, she can't see what's going on. She could just be assuming that if the sheriff was going to betray Kate, he'd shoot her first and then take Echo in so he'd have someone to fall on the sword. Except Marcus is too much of a dumbass who hasn't learned anything from the first time he listened to Silco, and he shoots Echo first. Again though, Vi can't see that and she still doesn't yell for Echo, which is weird, I will admit. It's one of those things I can't really explain or find reason for, because Echo definitely falls under people she wants to protect. And maybe it is as I've mentioned, or perhaps she knows that Echo has experience in a situation similar to this, as he is a firelight and getting shot at by enforcers is kind of part of the job, so he'd come prepared. But I'm not concrete on that explanation. In fact, it's pretty close to fanfiction because there's no evidence within the show for this. It's an oddity. Vi gets to Kate and they're shot at. And what does Kate do? Friggin' covers Vi, even though she's the one injured here. To which Vi responds by pushing her out of the way because, excuse me, no, that's my job. Then Vi picks her up to get her to a safe space, only to see Jinx standing on the other side of the bridge. The space between them, looking just like the terrible scene they both witnessed as kids right before Vander took them in. Vi can't close that space right now, even though that was why she was leaving in the first place, because she has Kate leaning on her in pain and Echo telling her, GO! This is really when the conflict of Big Softie Vi and Big Sis Vi begins in the one and only Vi the Protector. Because she makes the choice to take Kate to safety before going back to Jinx, because she has to go back to Jinx because she won't abandon her sister again. She can't, but she also has to make sure Kate is safe. That's why we're still in Kate's section here, because what happens next is because she felt the need to help Kate first. She drops Kate off in a spot, gives her a reassuring pat on the knee, and then we have almost a direct parallel to the dock scene. Because Vi isn't too far away from where Jinx is. She took Kate just far enough to give them space, but not far enough where she can't see Jinx. Just like she wasn't far enough away she couldn't see Powder before Marcus drugged her and she was forced to watch helplessly as a blurry Silco approached her vulnerable sister. And it's Marcus and Silco that keeps her running towards her sister again. Because Marcus is the reason Kate and Echo were stopped on the bridge, because he still worked with Silco despite it never working out, and Jinx being a loose cannon. And now Kate is hurt and she can't leave her because she's hurt and Vi must protect. And then she has to watch again as Silco finds her sister and takes her with him before more enforcers gather on the bridge. She's in the same position as before, and she's failed again. And it's all because of the space she made to create a sense of safety again. It's fucking bridges. They're meant to connect places and people, but all we see them do is create distance in the show. Now, we get to the part you all have been waiting for in terms of Kate's section. I know, okay? I was waiting for it too. Very excited to write about this. The bed scene. You know, this bed is not fluffy. It's really not. It's fucking painful. We're all like, aww, Vi is opening up to Kate, and Kate is providing gentle physical reassurance like no one but Vander ever did for her. Which, true. But this scene also further shows just how much guilt Vi has been carrying around for 6 years, and no amount of someone trying all of Vi's ways of reassurance is going to convince her to not feel guilty, even if the person trying is Kate. Still, as painful as this is, I prefer this bed scene to Jace's. Really though, as I said in Powder section, this scene is meant for us to see all the weight Vi has put on herself with being the protector of her little sister. How she made mistakes growing up, but was able to fix them before, and was able to chase the monsters away. But she can't do that here. She can't fix the mistakes she made as a kid that left room for Silco to come and snatch her little sister, and make her believe it was all on purpose. That Vi really saw Powder as a jinx, and abandoned her. She wants to apologize for it, has tried to do so, and she wants to make it better, and she's going to keep trying to make it better, but she hasn't had success with either yet, and Silco has Jinx in his hands again. But now, I can talk about Kate's role here, because the scene is also about how Vi is a fucking softie who craves everything she gives to other people. Yay! Kate is there to offer kind words of reassurance and soft, gentle touches, like Vi has always provided and done for and continues to give to other people, but has never really gotten the same treatment in return. At least not recently. Before all went to shit, it was different. Filled with similar actions Vi does, as we've seen that modeled by everyone in her family. But the last 6 years have been full of chats that would leave her bleeding on the cold hard floor of her lonely cell. What Kate is giving her right now doesn't exist in Stillwater, and for the first time in a long time, Vi's softness is being reciprocated. And with it, there's a belief from Kate that they will be successful in convincing the council to listen and take action. And the thing is, with all they've been through in the last day, and all the gentleness and kindness, Vi wants to believe in Kate's optimism. Because if it works out, she can help her sister, and she can keep her safe again, fix everything. And Vi doesn't fail at what she strives to be. She needs so badly for all of that to be true, that she can be the protector she is. And Kate is there offering her the reassurance that it will be, and she is. Like no one has in the time she has been the most guilt-ridden. And how is she not supposed to hold on to that, even for a second? So, she takes Kate's hand in hers and holds it. Like she's holding on to the hope this all works, even if she doesn't completely believe Kate's words. Because we know Vi, and we know she'll never forgive herself for what happened to Powder, because she failed as protector. And she knows the corruption, been the victim of it too many times to count, so she can't bet on the council doing the right thing. She's going to hold on to Kate in this moment though, because it's different. She's different. And Vi needs it, and all that comes with it, including her. Then, we get this beautiful visual of them lying together. Kate is lying pointed up, and Vi is lying pointed down. Topside and Undercity. Piltover and Zon. Oil and water. We all really should have seen it coming. Council doesn't know jack shit, but when has any elite ever? Just as quickly as Vi has begun to hold Kate's hand in and for reassurance, she's walking away. This time she is actually walking away with the purpose of not coming back for once. Well, that was kind of her intent on the bridge too, but it didn't work out that way. This time there's nothing for Vi to go back for. No danger, no reason to protect. In fact, she's leaving to protect. She's leaving to get her sister back by any means necessary. Because doing it Kate's way didn't work. And staying here will just be more time wasted. Jinx is with Silco, and she needs to get to her now before any more damage can be done. And Kate, she can protect Kate better by not being in her life at all. It keeps Kate away from Jinx, who almost blew them all up. It keeps Kate away from Silco, who stole her whole family from her. It keeps Kate away from the Undercity, which Silco has control over and has created shimmer addicts and messed with the delicate balance Vander had created and done everything to keep it all from tipping over. And it keeps Kate away from her, who hasn't been able to protect any of the people she cares about while they were within walking distance of her when that's all she wants to do. I've seen so many jokes about how Kate is going to bring up emotion the next time she and Vi actually get to talk, and I love it every time because it's a less sad scenario than the one I have made up in my head. Like, this sad shit happens, in the first moment's peace they get, Kate just blurts out, "Your metaphor doesn't fucking work. Have you ever heard of emotion? Oil and water can mix, Violet." That sounds more like leak Kate. Well, whatever. And Vi just sits there stunned and asks, "The fuck are you talking about right now, Cupcake? You think I went to a school that wasn't in the shape of a boxing ring?" Imagine that happening. Happiness in Arcane. Instead of Vi feeling guilty over what just happened to Kate's mom because she feels Jinx is her responsibility and... yeah, right. And Vi isn't walking away from the one person that has provided her some sense of safety since being put away in a cell when she was a child. Vi has no words now and doesn't reach out. Kate does, but it doesn't work because Vi is focused on not failing at her job again, particularly when it comes to her sister. And that means she can't have Kate, because Kate got hurt last time, and she couldn't bring herself to leave Kate and go to Jinx while Kate was hurt, especially since she was hurt because of Jinx, who Vi still feels was created due to her mistake as a kid. God, someone give this character a break, please. You made her kind and soft and punchy, and she tries her best, but it's never enough, and fuck, all she wants to do is protect the people she cares about. Can't you give her something? Just one win, maybe? What's that? Oh, Arcane says that we can't do that. Well, fuck you too, Arcane. And now we go in the in-between. Vi, oh Vi. The in-between. The thing about Vi not completely listening to Vander is as painful as seeing this guilt-ridden protector take the punches for everything because that's what she's been taught to do by him. More on that in a moment. It never ends well. It's necessary to show this though, because while she was in Stillwater, punching the shit out of everything was basically the only way of release and getting some sort of satisfaction. So she's gotta try that out in the real world and learn why Vander said, "Don't fucking do that," when she was a kid. Show her all his lessons still apply. One way of doing that is by, of course, putting her on the rampage she has wanted to go on since she was a kid and giving her the horrible consequences of violence herself. Essentially, she has to remember why she listened to Vander in the first place, and so we have to go through the punch the shit out of everything method. She's still the protector because she's out punching the shit out of everything in order to get her sister and move her away from Silco. But her method has changed. She's always been a bruiser and brawler, but gauntlets bring it up a notch, don't you think? So yeah, we have to talk about the results of her and Jace's team up. She goes after the Shimmer Depots because she thinks that will draw out Silco, and if she draws out Silco, she can get to Jinx. She resorts to blind violence and tries to get a solution through punches alone. She tried Vander's way and worked with an enforcer and it didn't work. She tried Kate's way and tried talking it out and it didn't work. So maybe if she tries her old methods of just punching the people who have caused her people pain and who try to get in her way, she can get the results she's looking for. Instead, Jace kills a child. Jace has to look the victims of Piltover in the eye for the first time and he doesn't like it. I don't hate Jace for the record, I just think he's kind of dumb and naive. And so does Vi, because Vi thinks it's pretty funny he cares about a few dead kids now considering this has been happening anyway, and that's why they need to stop it. Jace and his fellow counselors all have blood on their hands. They have just been too far away and removed to see it until now. It feels cold and uncaring, especially as the body is still warm and lying in the middle of the floor, which is kind of weird for Vi. Except when Jace walks away, you can see this all bothers Vi too. Because even though she's not the protector of these people, they still belong to the Undercity, to her home. And she knows the lack of choice they have when it comes to what needs to be done in order to provide for the people at home, and the hand that was dealt to all of them. Still, her goal was to find her sister, and taking down one Shimmer facility didn't seem to work, which means that's a dead end that has only accomplished at making her look into the eyes of a dead child. So she needs to reassess, and reassess she does. She reassesses straight to Savika, because maybe punching Silco's number 2 will get different results. And then Savika beats her ass hard enough she sees a vision of Vander. And it's at this point we really need to address the man, the myth, the legend, former leader of the Lanes. How Vi is who she is, the sword and shield of her people, and a sponge full of guilt because of him, and how she will always listen to him, especially since now she knows all her methods do is make her see him in a haze of light. And I'll do you one better. Why is Vi? I love Vander. He essentially saw these 2 kids and gave up his vendetta against the world in a heartbeat because he saw what carrying on could mean for them. Then he goes and adopts a couple more. He makes family out of these misfits and they all view him as a father. He's a pretty damn good one. But being in the Undercity means your kids need to grow up fast, or they're vulnerable to the world. I don't agree with all of his actions, but it's clear that he's trying his best to protect his kids. So much so that the people of the Lanes know and comment on it. But also, he is the reason Vi is the way she is. Vi is her own person, yeah. Headstrong, full of opinions, punches, and love. But her guilty conscience and leadership position is built off of the lessons taught by Vander. There's a lot of parallels through Act 1 between Vi and Vander. The one that I think about the most, however, is how they both have a conversation at a significant place with a person they are trying to teach. The lessons are different, but the objectives for them are the same. Vi takes Powder up to the roof to show how mistakes happen. That each of them, Milo, Clagger, and even her, have all had to learn through things gone wrong. Vander takes Vi back to that fucking bridge to talk to her about how to protect the people they care about, and making hard choices in order for everyone to remain safe and protected, even when those choices mean giving up on fighting for a better future, at least physically. See, that's where I don't agree with Vander. But we're not talking about whether I agree with him or not. We're talking about Vi and these scenes. The first scene shows the leader Vi is, that Vander knows she is. She took Powder to a place where she can give evidence of their failures and show how they can move past them. Beautiful big sis moment. The second scene shows how much Vi still has a lot to learn in being a leader. He took her to a place where they both experienced lots of death and trauma, and the fate of their lives took a different turn, where he learned he needed to make different decisions and move past the thought that anger, hate, and punching your way through the smoke are the only options. Ultimately, the objective of both scenes is to show that they are both leaders of their people. For Vi, that's Milo, Clagger, Echo, and Powder. For Vander, that's all of them, plus the people of the Undercity, the Lanes. They'll both do anything to protect those groups. It's showing that Vi is Vander's prodigy, his heir, in a way. She has to live up to him and his expectations, so she takes everything he says to heart. She listens and obeys. Well, as much as a teen can, but adult Vi. You see his lessons instilled in adult Vi very well. Act 3 specifically shows in only a couple of lines how much Vander and his words have kept on living in Vi. At the Firelight's hideout, Vi admits to thinking about what she could have done better, and how she could have been there for Powder and Echo.
I should have been there. For you. For everyone.
Echo tells her,
That's a good way to drive yourself crazy.
but she has to do this. To wonder about everything. To think about everything. And to take on everything. and to take the blame for everything. Why?
When people look up to you, you don't get to be selfish. You say run, they run. You say swim, they dive in. You say light a fire, they show up with oil. But whatever happens, it's on you.
Now look what you've done, Vander. You've gone and given Vi a massive guilt complex. I hope you're happy. Wait, shit, you're dead. Sorry. Vi the Protector comes about from being Big Sis Vi and Big Softie Vi, because they're one and the same. She has a good heart. That's all fine. It's all good. It's part of her and who she is. And Vander just has to thrust another part of being an older sibling, a leader, and a proper protector on her shoulders. One she might not have thought about before, but gets plenty of time to think about once Marcus puts her in still water. Like I said, she's the big sister, the one with the responsibilities, the one who is meant to keep her little siblings safe, to let them know that she loves them and cares about them, and to protect them when the monsters come. She knows that. She takes care of that part easily enough, even with, being a child herself. But there is a difference between having responsibility and taking responsibility. Because those kids, your little siblings and the kids younger than you, the ones you lead, they are your responsibility. They listen to you. And if something goes wrong, if one of them gets hurt, that's on you. If they make a mistake, that's on you. You are the leader. You are the one who needs to take responsibility for the actions of those who follow you. You are the one who needs to be held accountable. Your younger siblings don't know better, but you do. And that leads to the other part of being the protector of your younger siblings and the people around you, which is thinking about what you could have done better. It's wondering how you could have changed outcomes. It's determining how you could have been better. Because part of taking responsibility is doing all of that. It's seeing where you went wrong, owning up to it, and making sure it doesn't happen again. It's a lot. It's a lot for an adult, and Vi was a teen when this lesson was instilled into her. A teen about to go through a truly traumatic situation that involved her two brothers dying for following her to break out their dad, and her little sister accidentally being the one who murdered them. A situation that was so out of her control in the first place. How can we pinpoint the blame of anything that happened, especially the undoing of powder, on any one thing, one person? Except maybe Silco. But even then, we have to consider the council's part in this too, and their unwillingness to look at the Undercity and see that it needed help, and not in a militaristic fashion. But Vander said,
It's on you.
And
You don't get to be selfish.
And
You've got a good heart. Don't ever lose it, no matter how the world tries to break you. Protect the family.
And
Take care of powder.
And being locked up in a cell for 6 years with little to nothing to do but punch a wall, this is where this takes Vi. It takes her to thinking about that moment, when she messed up and lashed out and selfishly tried to give herself a moment to become herself again, and the moments before all of that. The actions of the days leading up to it all. It takes her to thinking about how she failed to be the protector, how she failed at being unselfish, how she failed her family, how she failed her little sister, who may or may not be dead or being tortured by Silco or another spiral, and she's been taught to blame herself for all of it. And the most she can do in Stillwater is sit in the guilt of it all, while she gets tormented by guards, pace a cell that she has no reason to be in according to everything including her papers, and hope that one day she can find a way to apologize, to do better, to right the wrongs, and to make it up to the people she lost and the people she hurt. The only release she finds is kicking the ass of Silco's goons every once in a while, but that's not enough. That doesn't help her with what she wants to be. So once she gets out of Stillwater, she is still the same. Still listening to Vander, still out to protect the family, still taking responsibility for them. But she's got a whole lot more guilt now, and the world is different. Her sister is different. Then she gains a new person, because the thing about Caitlin Kierman is she's like Vander.
Freud?
No, I mean that she cares about people like Vander. She does not want to be Vi's dad. Do not. That sounds. I'm moving on, as we have gone over. The first person to show Vi any care, give her kind words, soft touches outside of Stillwater is Kate. The people of the Undercity give her food and information and life-saving shimmer, but Kate's the one with the words. You have a good heart. And gentleness no one else is willing to share since Vander, not even her own sister. From what we know of Vander, he wouldn't be surprised or hurt by this addition. I'm not claiming he was friends with Grayson, but there is a sense of respect there, at least enough to be willing to work with her. Plus, he was the one that was collecting misfits. What would be so different now? If anything, he'd expect this, because you have a good heart. That sounded like Victor more than Vander. and he wants Vi to use it. That means opening yourself up to new people. That means gaining new people to care about. That means protecting them. And like I said, Vi is the same good-hearted person she's always been, except she's gotten a lot better at listening to Vander now, and that makes a world of difference. Also, it's interesting to note that just as there are a lot of parallels between Vi and Vander in Act 1, there's a lot of parallels that have been made between the actions of Vander and Kate in Acts 2 and 3. My favorites include Vi shifting away from them both when they're trying to clean up her face, though for different reasons, and Vander and Kate both being tied down to a chair as Vi looks on helplessly. Wait, is it time for dinner? Not yet, but soon. Because we still haven't completely talked about Vi getting her ass beat so badly she sees Vander. I can't see him being too thrilled about her actions, about Vi essentially going on a rampage through the Undercity in order to get to her sister, as he told her that not every problem can be solved with her fists, but the motive is in line with what he taught her, especially if her vision
She still needs you.
is anything to go by. Because it doesn't matter if this is the real Vander or the one Vi's mind made up. This is who Vi saw Vander as. These are the words she expects to hear from him. Your sister still needs you, so you need to get up. I can't do Vander's voice. Your sister still needs you, so you need to get up and pull yourself together because you're not helping her on the floor. Get up. You're not protecting her while you bleed out onto the floor of my ball. And the vision doesn't stop at, she still needs you. It has to continue with,
They all do.
because everyone in Vi's life that she cares about needs a protector one way or another. Powder from Silco and herself, Echo who may or may not be dead, and his Firelights who are all kids trying to pave way for a better future, just as she has always wanted, just as she's willing to fight for. The absolute hell Vi will put herself through just for her people, for every single person she cares about, and it's all because Vander told her that is how it should be, as that is what it means to be a leader, a sister, a protector. And you know, thinking about it now, it's interesting. Vi is the protector, but she can't even block correctly.
You still block with your face.
Your guard needs work.
Because her physical fights parallel how she accepts every emotional punch. All the guilt of the actions of the people she cares about. No barriers, no excuses. She's punchy and strong, but the real way she protects people is by standing in the line of fire and taking it. Punch me as hard as you can, motherfucker. I won't protect myself if it means I'm protecting those important to me. Fuck Vi. I know your tattoos make you look like a goddamn machine, so you think you can just keep chugging along despite the wear and tear, but you are very much a human, and that shit adds up eventually. That said, she is successful in getting off the floor and kicking ass by being punchy and strong and chugging along. Because listening to Vander works. Taking his words and soaking them in and living by them works, even though it's painful. Even though she shouldn't have to carry so much weight. It works. But even with everything Vander taught Vi and his little band of misfits, he apparently never taught them table manners. Super salad, Vi. So everything that Vi is comes to a head at this lovely little dinner party created by Jinx. Powder. Jinx? I don't know. You choose, Vi. It's here that she is given an absolutely impossible choice, because Jinx wants her to pick. Her people or her people. She has to choose. Does she want Powder back? Or does she want to save the Enforcer girl? Let's start with Kate, because she's the one in danger first. So, just as a little recap, Kate is new, but we've seen what they both have gone through. Vi left her, true, but not because of anything Kate did or didn't do. Plus, Vi knows Kate really hasn't done anything to belong in this situation. She's only there because of what she means to Vi. What Jinx believes she means to Vi. And the concern and horror written on Vi's face when Jinx brings out that covered plate confirms to Jinx that her thought process is correct. Because it tells us all that, despite everything, Kate is still one of Vi's people, that she still wants Kate protected. They're in love, Your Honor! So no matter how much Vi wants Powder back, she can't shoot Kate. That would mean she fails at being the protector of her people again. It's Vander and Milo and Claggor trapped all over again. People stuck in a web they don't belong in that Vi thinks she created herself. Now with Jinx. Vi is smart enough to know or realize that no matter the promises, Powder will never be Powder again. But she's still her sister. She will always be her little sister. And Vi will always be her older sister. Will always want to protect her. That means when Kate escapes her chair, Vi can't let her shoot Jinx. That would mean she fails at protecting her sister again, just like she failed 6 years ago, and on the bridge again. She has to protect her too. Because Vi just wants to protect everyone. That's what this whole video is about. That Vi being the big sister, Vi being the Softie we see, Vi being filled with guilt for the actions of the people she takes care of. It's all because she is the protector. I've only repeated that 100 times so far. But in this situation, she so desperately wants to be the protector of everyone and not fail at it because she knows. She knows what it's like to fail at being the protector. She's done it so often now. She can't go through that again. She won't. You can't make her choose if it means no matter what she fails. That one way or another, someone she cares about is going to get hurt on behalf of her choices, her actions, done by one of her people. If this were 6 years ago, the stakes would have been different. If this were 6 years ago, when Vi was still learning, when it was just her family, Vi would have chosen Powder in a heartbeat. That's her little sister. That's her role. It's not 6 years ago, though. Vi is still the big sister trying her best, but there's someone in the way now. Someone innocent and trying to make something better, do better, and has let her see Vander's belief, see how his methods could work, because she's still listening to Vander, especially now that he basically saved her from the brink of death again. And Powder fell down a well, and Jinx can't fathom why Vi would ever be okay with being around an enforcer, the people who killed their parents. What makes her so special? Why can't she just choose me? That makes her a danger to everyone in the room, including to herself, but especially to Kate, who hasn't done anything wrong, who shouldn't be here, who isn't a part of this.
Powder! Leave her out of this!
Isn't that what Vander said to Silco about Vi?
Silco! Let her go! This is between you and me!
And because she's the most selfishly unselfish person, she tries to protect both of them, because she needs to protect both of them. Emphasis. So she offers a different solution. They run away. They run away and do whatever the hell they want on the condition that she lets Kate go. But that wasn't one of the choices, and you can't be selfish, Vi. And we forgot about Silco, who always has to fuck everything up for our favorite siblings. And we have to go into him, even though this is mainly about Vi and her actions. We have to understand why everything goes as shit as it does. And that means we have to think about Jinx and how she's feeling in this situation. So, Silco. He makes Jinx question the validity of everything Vi strives to be, who she is. We, as the audience, know she wants to protect everyone in the room, except maybe Silco, but she'll keep him alive if that means Powder will be okay. Because we've seen her struggle to get here, to get to Powder. We have seen how far she's willing to go and the actions she's not afraid of taking. But Jinx doesn't know that. She hasn't seen any of that. No. She saw her sister walk away and leave her next to the corpse of their father 6 years ago when she needed her most. She sees her sister working with an enforcer, becoming friends with her, getting too close. She hears Milo's old taunts in her ears with every step she takes, because it's always Milo. And she has the person who took her in, gave her shelter, let her build her gadgets, and protected her, telling her that everything her sister is a lie. And she doesn't want to completely believe she's been manipulated by him because that's another father gone. And Vi didn't choose, which is a choice all on its own. Because the thing about choices is, even if there seems to only be two, a third one always sneaks in, and it's never the one you made up on your own, or the choice you want the option of. It's something else altogether. I liken this situation to when you play a video game and your time runs out before you can even think about what to say. What do you mean I gained Renegade points, Mass Effect? I didn't say anything. I was too busy freaking out. Yes, I'm bad at video games. That's why I don't play League. I just read the lore. So much lore. Glorious evolution. Okay, it's too much. And try as hard as Vi might get Jinx to see, it's too late. They're different now. So, in the end, Vi does fail. The people she cares about, they're both alive, but they aren't protected. Powder is gone, and Jinx is what remains in the ashes. Kate is about to potentially live through the trauma of losing a parent, and even if Cassandra Kierman lives through this, seeing the building where you know your mom resides is going to have a lasting effect. And also getting kidnapped while you're in the shower. The comfort of your own home, where you should feel safe, that too. You can't protect everyone, Vi, and you can't protect them from everything, no matter how much you want to. And I thought I would be able to end this on a nice note of Vi being the protector. Like, no, there is no happiness here. This is fucking Arcane we're talking about. She does her best and everything goes to shit anyways. It's not fair. She doesn't deserve this. None of them deserve this. Go back. Go back to the scene after Guns for Hire. Stop Echo from interrupting for a minute so they can explain. Go back to the bridge scene even. Have Vi try to talk to Jinx. Or go back to before Vi breaks into Jace's study. Go back anywhere where this could have turned out different. Where there isn't so much pain. But much like Vi, we can't. We can only play what could have been. Fuck. Season 2 is going to be interesting because when the dust settles, Vi is still going to be the protector. She's still going to want to look out for the people she cares about, make sure none of them get hurt. That's just who she is. It's her role. It's who she was and always will be because she'll always hear Vander with every move she takes. She's the older sibling that is in charge of the younger one. She's the one who needs to make sure the people she cares about are safe and secure and loved. And currently, 2 of her people contradict one another. At some point, she's going to be in a position where she can't give herself time again, to walk away for a moment to think, and she has to choose. Faced with the impossible once more, pick between her sister, the person she has always sworn to protect and love and has motivated her actions since the very beginning, or Caitlin, who provides her the sort of protection and care she tries to give other people.
Every way I slice it, if I go after your sister alone, one of us comes back in a box.
I can do this myself. No one else needs to get hurt.
I'm glad it's you. Had to be you.
Because this is Arcane, and it's stupid, depressing comfort show. How did this show become a comfort show? Is the world really that shit? Don't answer that. I'm gonna go find some fluffy shit now. An absolute truth rotter about my favorite character, Vi, who deserves so much more than she is given. Oh, who am I kidding? I'm watching Arcane again. Some thank yous. First, thank you to my Patreon supporters over at the Knack plus Paul group chat for dealing with my shit for the past however many months this has taken me to create. And some of them still haven't watched the show. They are absolutely sick of hearing about Vi and despise my Arcane memes. I'm pretty sure this is worse than when I literally would only send K-pop memes in response to anything and everything. Seriously, have you ever talked about something so much that it annoyed your friend into making art about it? Because look at this. Thank you, Alex. I have never been more honored and properly dissed. He also made this when I sent him the wall of words that would grow into the script for this video you're seeing now, on my complete hyperfixation on the cartoon character Vi. Coolest thing ever. And now he's drawing art making fun of me. A beautiful progression. Still, I am not sorry for any of it. I absolutely refuse to apologize for the things that make me happy now. But I thank you for putting up with me. I'm sure it was very hard not telling me to shut the fuck up every 5 minutes when you were trying to have a normal conversation. I would have understood it if you had murdered me. Also, to appease one of you, here is me stating that, yes, I do realize that oil and water only mix when there is a third agent present. But that's not as funny, Azim, and also not the point of the argument. They can mix. Let me ship the lesbians in peace, asshole. I'd also like to thank Fortnite. Watch this whole freaking thing just to get Vi. The fuck? Where is she? I have my first complaint, and it's that they're 2 different bundles, and I of course I'm gonna go with this one. Why does this one come out with both the Hawkeyes? But you have to pay for both the Arcane characters separately. I want the bundle. I want the bundle with the Arcane character. He gave me this interaction after spending $32 on V-Bucks, despite never having the urge to ever play this game.
There you go. There you go. There you go. Something that we'll never see in the show.
Ouch.
Let's hug it out. Oh, I went there.
Yeah.
Plus, the promise of being able to play as Vi without having to touch League kept me from experiencing many mental breakdowns that week. Which was not what I meant when I titled this essay Vi the Protector, but works all the same. And finally, and probably most importantly, even though they'll never see this, oh God, please never see this, I'd like to thank every person who worked on Arcane. You made a truly beautiful show. It has obviously taken over my brain and slithered into every aspect of my life, and I couldn't be more grateful for it. I deeply love everything about your show. It's gorgeous to look at, and the writing has been so fun to dig into because I just keep finding more and more wonderful layers to it. Yes, I have written other things on the show already. Yes, I have a problem. No, I don't know if there will be other videos because I actually got my student teaching assignment in the midst of creating this this monster, and it has been kicking my ass. It's just that Vi stood out to me, and now she has become a character I am ridiculously attached to. You may have noticed that, but I felt it worth actually saying because I don't do this. I close read things, sure, especially things I love because I majored in English, and it's what I've been trained to do now. But my friends can attest that it's never gotten to the point of me writing a 27, 28 including this thank you, page script for a video essay talking about one character and their every action and explaining why they do what they do and who they are. She means a lot to me. I've learned a lot about myself through her, and the process of creating this long-ass video all about her has been an absolute joy. Something that has been a struggle to find for some time. Wonder why that is. So again, thank you for Vi. Thank you for Arcane. And I can't wait to see how you tear my heart apart in season 2. Oh, don't make fun of I'm not a voice actor, okay? I attempted. There was an attempt at making Kate's voice and Vi's, and I can't do it because I'm not a voice actor. I am sorry. Ow!